All right, so tonight the practice is going to be we're going to start with a little bit of movement, a little bit of somatic movement on the floor just to get hips and shoulders a little lubricated and to bring ourselves into our body after, whatever your day has looked like so far. Then we're going to go into classic restorative holds tonight, restorative shapes tonight. And we're going to start out with side bend. Then we're going to go into a back bend, predominantly for the upper back, the thoracic spine, to work out the kinks of sitting all day. And then we're going to go to the floor for a deeper twist. That's from the yin tradition. So 2 parts restorative, 1 part yin. And I said this last week, but I've got to say it again. I'm going to have my phone with me to time it because I still can't find my watch. Welcome to my world. So come down onto your backs, please. Feel free to make all the sound effects you'd like as you drop into the sticky mat. Oh. Pull your knees into your chest. And let yourself rock a bit from side to side. And notice if you let your knees move away from your chest a little bit, how that changes up the massage you're getting on your back, along your spine. Whereas if you draw your knees closer, that changes things up a bit as well. So just find that sweet spot. Great. Good. And then bring your feet to the floor and one leg at a time, stretch your legs down the length of your mat. And let's empty before we begin. You have one hand to your belly, one hand to your low ribs. If it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, please do. And I invite you to resist the temptation of manipulating your breath right now. Rather, take advantage of this time to simply notice how your breath is presenting. As you move from whatever your day held to this time, this appointment that you've made with your body, with your mind, with your soul. And simply notice where your breath travels beneath your hands. Feel the gentle expansion of your ribs, your front ribs under one hand. Notice where your body undulates with your breath, the rise and fall of your torso or your belly. Listen even closer, even more deeply. Feel for any pulsing under your hands, pulsing, murmuring, maybe even any gurgling. Begin to deepen your inhalations and lengthen your exhales. Each breath becoming slightly longer than the previous one, slightly deeper. Lingering a bit longer over the exhale. And feeling this wave of breath, of expansiveness, of energy, of movement underneath your hands. Good. And then I'm going to have you bring your arms down to your sides. And then one leg at a time, bend a knee and set that foot on the sticky mat. Bend your other knee, place that foot on your sticky mat. And just finding a gentle breath that works for you. It doesn't have to be super deep or super slow, but just a nice steady rhythm. When you inhale, arch your lower back away from the floor. Keep your butt down, just the low back rises. And when you exhale, you'll round your lower back into the mat, pressing all your lumbar vertebrae into the sticky. And inhaling, arching your low back. Maybe your chin drops to your chest slightly. And exhaling, you round. And perhaps your chin moves up towards the ceiling a little as your head rocks back. Good, and keep going. It's as simply as supine cat-cow. And let's go 2 more times, 2 more breaths. And find your way to neutral as you finish up. Settling your feet about sitting bone distance apart. Take your arms straight up to the ceiling and bending your elbows in front of your chest. Cross your forearms in front of your chest, rather, taking opposite hands to opposite elbows. Kind of like an old-fashioned typewriter. When you inhale, you're going to stay put. And when you exhale, you're going to glide your arms over to the right and drop your knees to the left. And your next breath in is going to glide you back through center. Take your time, let your body follow your breath. And as you exhale, your arms will go to the left and your knees will go to the right. Good, and let's do that 2 more times, using your breath to guide your practice. When it comes to your cervical spine, personally, I like to turn my head with my arms, but you might find it more interesting or more beneficial to turn your head opposite your arms. You can experiment both ways. Determine which pattern serves you the best. At the top of the inhalations, give yourself just a beat to place all 4 corners of your feet on your mat. Let yourself get grounded during that pause between the motions, between the movement. That little bit of hang time between the actions. And the next time your arms are going to the left and your knees are going to the right, I'm going to have you stay there for a few. You might roll your right arm down a little bit away from your chin. Notice if that changes things up in your shoulder. And maybe let it roll up towards your chin. It's kind of pumping that humerus bone around in the glenohumeral joint a few times into that socket. And then find the sweet spot again and stay put for another 2 breaths. Good. And when you're ready, you'll breathe in and come to center. Keep your hands at your elbows. Simply take your arms over your head, taking your forearms, in the direction of the floor behind you. And then you'll take 3 cat-cow breaths, inhaling to arch your lower back. Big stretch through the anterior spine. And exhaling, rounding. Allowing there to be just the littlest bit of crunch through your belly, and then twice more. And after your 3rd round, as you inhale, bring your arms back up in front of you, change the cross of your forearms, and we're going to exhale, taking the arms to the left again. We were just there, arms left, knees right. And then glide through center as you inhale, arms to the right, knees to the left. And we'll do that 2 more times from side to side. Moving slow like molasses. And I think you know what's coming when on your third time, your arms are going to the right and your knees are going to the left. You'll stay there. Gently maneuvering your left arm in the shoulder joint. Just a couple of times. Find that sweet spot where it's not too tight, not too loose, not too hot, not too cold. Good. And when you take your next breath in, come back up through center, plant your feet on your mat, keep your hands at your elbows, and take your arms over your head towards the floor behind you. 3 undulating of the spine breaths. Arcing on the in-breath, arching and rounding on the out-breath. Beautiful. And as you finish up, bring your arms back to your sides. Stretch your legs down the length of your mat. Let yourself drop into Shavasana for, like 10 or 15 seconds. Excellent. Once more, bend your knees, set your feet to the floor, and I'm going to have you roll to a side just so you can come up to sitting and get yourself prepped with your props. So we're going to use, tell you what, let's use everything. Slide your block off of your mat at the head of your mat. Slide it onto the floor at the head of your mat. Bring your round bolster across your mat. We're coming into lying side stretch first. We're going to lengthen our side body, and then we're going to open up our chest, and then we're going to go into a deep twist. So I'm taking my blanket and I'm folding it. So I've got a good sized pillow, and I'm putting the blanket between my bolster and the block. You're going to sit with the bolster snug against your left hip and thigh, and then drape yourself over the bolster. So your waist is going to drape over the bolster. Nestle your head on the blanket. So adjust the height of your blanket pillow to whatever degree, so you don't have any, unnecessary drama in your left shoulder or neck. And let me get the timer started, and away we go. So what's up with the block beyond our head? Well, I'll tell you what's up with that. If you want, you can explore taking your right arm over your right ear to the fingertips to the block beyond your head. And if that agrees, if your right shoulder agrees with that, then great, hang there. However, if at any point over the next several minutes, you get tingly in your hands or you get numb in your fingers or your hand, I'm going to ask you to heed that sensation and bring your arm back to your side. So what to do with the legs? You can keep your knees bent like I'm doing, or you can stretch your legs down the length of your mat. Or you can do a combination. Let's take the first 60 or 90 seconds or so and, explore what feels good for you on this side, recognizing it might feel completely different and you might want a little bit of a different setup on the other side. Okay, now I'll be quiet so you can enjoy the shape. Notice if there's any tension in your jaw, any gripping of your clenching of your teeth. Maybe you're gripping your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Simply becoming aware of patterns and habits. And perhaps acknowledging that it's been a tough day or a tough week or a tough month. And giving yourself a little internal bow of gratitude and respect for your dedication to your practice to help alleviate that tension, that anxiety. That frustration or that overwhelm. We're going to stay in the shape for a couple more minutes. Take a deeper breath. And if your legs are straight, I want you to bend your knees and pull your knees up towards your bolster. And you can bring your right arm down to your side if it's not there already. We're going to just lift up onto our left elbow and rest our head and our left hand for a couple of breaths before we go any further. Gosh, I like that one. Okay, let's slowly rise up. Ooh, give yourself a 180 turn to the right. And here we go, second side. Plump up your bolster again. Snug it up next to your right leg, right hip. And here we go. Come on over. Stretching your right arm forward towards the wall in front of you and adjusting your pillow so that your right shoulder feels good and not jammed up against the floor. And then if you'd like, experiment with taking your left arm over your head, resting your hand or your fingertips to the block, and then likewise, experiment with what you'd like to do with your legs on this side and let it be different if it needs to be different. If anything doesn't feel good, change it. Make it work for you. The pose comes to fit you rather than you trying to fit into the pose. Okay, begin to deepen your breath. And then bring your left arm back to your side. And if your legs are straight, bend your knees, please. Gently come up onto your right elbow, resting your head in your right hand. Great. So we're going to keep this set up. If your blanket is not folded as thick as mine, I want you to go ahead and fold your blanket so that you've got a good size high pillow. We're coming into supported fish. So that means the bolster is going to stay where it is, but it's going to be behind you. Bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor. So you've got some sense of being anchored. Bring your elbows down to your bolster, and then you're going to shift your hips as you forward or back as you need to, so that this bolster is going to hit you right about bra line. This way, you can arch back over the bolster. Make sure the blanket is high enough to support your head. And if your blanket's thinner, then put the block under your blanket. I want you to have a decent amount of head support. Then you can take your arms out to the sides. The arms are free of the bolster, and they go out like a T. All right, here we go. Ooh. Let's take a few minutes in this shape. Now you can keep your knees bent, maybe take your feet a little wide and let your knees knock inward towards one another. Or you can take your legs down the length of your mat. Okay, give yourself a deeper breath and one last stretch through the front of your spine. If your legs are straight, bend your knees one leg at a time. Set your feet back to your mat. Now, there's a couple of ways to exit from this. Some people prefer to just roll over to their side and press themselves up. I like to bring my hands behind my head first and use the strength of my arms to lift my head. So that way there's no strain on my neck. You just look down to your knees. Good. And then from here, you can roll over to one side and press yourself up. Okay. The piece de resistance, we're coming into what the yin people call, I think they call it cattail. Seems appropriate with the cats that are on the screen this evening. So I'm going to have you take your bolster off to the left. You're going to lie on your left side and keep your blanket as your pillow, and you can adjust it, maybe take it down a notch. And then what's happening from here is I'm going to have you stretch your left leg down the length of your mat, bend your right knee and set your right knee and shin and calf over your bolster. Okay. All right. Then from here, two things. One is you can take your right arm over and behind you. So you're coming into a twist. Okay. And how this becomes a cat's tail is you can experiment with bending your left knee, kicking your left heel up towards your butt, reaching down with your right hand and grabbing a hold of your foot or maybe a pant leg. And voila, here we are in a fairly deep twist. And we're just going to stay for 3 minutes on each side. And with regards to your head, I suggest turning your head to the left so you're looking out beyond your left arm. And inching your left leg, your left knee behind you, just a fraction. Gently coax your right shoulder towards the floor. Whether it gets there or not is irrelevant. We're just moving the right arm and the right shoulder in that general direction. All right, if you've got your foot, slowly release it. Roll onto your back. Set your right foot to the floor. Ooh, bring yourself onto your back. Ah. Then bring your bolster with you. Take your bolster over to the right side of your mat. And let's roll over to our right side. Stretch your right leg down your mat and bend your left knee. Place your left knee and lower leg on top of your bolster. We'll just take this in stages as we did before. Left arm sweeps up and over behind you. Ooh. All right, door number one. Door number two is to bend your right knee, kick your right heel up. Ooh, and walk your right knee behind you another fraction of an inch. Reach down with your left hand, grab a hold of your right foot. Here we go. Turn your head to look over your right shoulder. Okay. If you've got a hold of your foot, let it go. Roll onto your back. And bring your knees into your chest. And then you can with your right hand, you can push that bolster down a bit, and then use your feet to bring it onto your sticky mat, and we'll put it underneath our knees. And here we are, ready for Shava. Adjusting the bolster so you've got good support under your knees, maybe even your thighs. Pick up your hips and lengthen your pelvis, like you're trying to lengthen your tailbone towards the bolster, just as though you were smoothing out any pleats or wrinkles in your low back. And cozy yourself up. If you want to use the blanket under your head and put it over you for added warmth or weight, or grab an additional blanket or throw on a sweatshirt if you need to. And for the next few moments, we'll just simply rest. And start to deepen your breath. And bring some movement into your fingers and into your toes. And wake up your hands and your feet. And draw your knees up towards your chest. And then rock yourself to sitting, maybe rolling over to your favorite side, or rolling yourself upright. Bring your two palms together at your heart. And we'll take the base of the thumbs up to our third eye. May we have peace in our minds as we move into the weekend. And then glide your fingertips to your lips. May we have peace in our words as we move ahead to the weekend. Rest your hands at your heart. May we always have peace in our hearts. Thank you so much for joining me and the others on the screen. Bye. You all sleep well tonight. Great. It's good to practice with you. Good night.